Hey buddy, welcome back to the channel and to World of Warships. So today I will showcase a ship that I'm not really sure if I have showcased on my channel before. I think I have, but it was probably ages ago. And I'm not really certain why it was such a long time, because this is actually a really funny ship to play. And of course, it's the Tier 8 Pan-Asian Premium Destroyer, the LoYang. And why this ship is very fun and a good ship all around to play. It is, of course, Tier 8, so you will see both Tier 7, Tier 6 sometimes, but usually mostly Tier 8, Tier 9, Tier 10, which means that all the damage and things that you inflict on the enemy team gives you a really good boost in credits and experience. And LoYang isn't like overpowered in any way. I mean, the guns are pretty mediocre. I think it's kind of Benson guns or something. It's not as strong as Fletcher or those type of ships, but it is kind of American-esque guns with those lofty arcs, which you will see in this game. And the torps are also kind of mediocre. You have two different sets to choose from. One, which I will call the suicide set, which is pretty short range. I think you can just about stealth torp with those, or maybe they are a bit shorter even than your concealment. So those aren't really viable, but those are pretty decently fast, I have to say now, with the Swedish destroyers in the game as well. Then you can't really say fast, because fast means like 9600 knots. But they are decent fast. But I choose to use the other set of torps, which are the 9.2 kilometer range torpedoes. And I think they travel in about 56 knots or something, so they are pretty slow. So try predicting enemy movements and taking the correct lead is pretty hard. But in this case I was actually trying to torp the Minotaur that smoked up right in front of me, but he got blapped by one of our battleships. So the torps that were intended for him actually hit these torpedoes instead. But that is fine with me. So I smoked up, and this is kind of a American smoke. Oh yeah, I actually managed to hit another battleship that was positioned in the Minotaur's smoke actually. And that was the ship that flooded out and got killed. Yeah. So I hit two ships with my really slow torps. I managed to set a permafire on the torpedoes as well, so that will tick for a while. Now I leave my smoke, and as you've seen, I already used my great hydroacoustic search, which these ships get as a consumable, and that is actually one of the few strong points that I will explain while I take out this Asashio. As I said, the guns and torpedoes are not really something to write home about on this ship. They are decent, but not really breaking any records per se. But a thing that makes this ship really strong is this insanely strong hydroacoustic search. And I think it's about 5.5 kilometers for ship detection. And since my detection is 5.8 on this ship, When I get spotted, I can pretty much start slowing down, deploy my smoke, and start my hydro, and then I will get undetected at the same moment as the destroyer that has detected me gets detected. And then I can pretty much just shoot him for free. And if I'm contesting a cap at the same time as an enemy destroyer is contesting the cap, I can pretty much push him out of the cap with my long duration smoke and my long duration hydro. So that makes this ship extremely fun and extremely strong in that sense. But it's not overpowered at all, and you have to be quite mindful still, because playing these tiers will put you in arm's way of a lot of hydro DDs and also long-range radar cruisers, which they are even implementing more of as we speak. So you have to check your team list in the start of the game, which I of course analyze in every game I play. I always start to look at the enemy team, see how many radars they have, see what kind of detection range enemy destroyer have. I also have a mod actually to help me with that, which I can really recommend. It's one of those team list mod in Aslan's mod pack, which helps you out pretty much to see what kind of... it doesn't really tell you the exact values, I think, but in comparison to other destroyers, you can get a feeling for if you will out-detect them or they will out-detect you. So that is a good information to have in the start of the game. Of course, you can also get this information by writing down the detection ranges of all the destroyers, but this is a bit more easier. So alongside the detection of enemy destroyers, it's always very important when playing the LoYang to see which kind of hydro DDs do they have, because they have like the high tier German destroyers. You have the second best hydro range in the game if we're talking destroyers. It's one ship that has a longer range hydroacoustic than you have, and that's the tier 10 German destroyer, the Z-52. The Z-49, the tier 9 one, has a bit shorter range than you have. And of course the Z-23 also have a shorter range, but they still have pretty long range as well. So if you're pushing and contesting a cap against a Z-23 or a Z-49, then you should be a bit cautious, because if they push in, so you are within their hydro range as well, so you kind of hydro each other, they will definitely out DPM you. So be cautious pushing or contesting against the German destroyers, and of course Z-52 can out hydro you, so definitely not sit in the cap when you're against a Z. But pretty much all the rest of the DDs, you can pretty much just bully them out of the capture circle, which is pretty fun to do. And of course you're pretty much always safe against enemy destroyers' torpedoes, which is also a pretty great thing. But as you can see here with my lofty shell arcs, I struggle a bit doing some damage with my guns, especially against kiting battleships or cruisers at longer ranges. So this is pretty much a destroyer that needs to be pretty close up to be efficient with either guns or torps. Here I know there's a LoYang, yeah, a tier 10 Pan Asian that is actually quite pesky for me, because he's circling me at all times, trying to keep me under control pretty much. So, and as you can see, I try to disengage at every moment when we get into a gunfight, this LoYang and me, because as I said before, I don't really have the DPM on this ship to challenge a tier 10 Pan-Asian destroyer, or most of the other actually tier 9, tier 10 destroyers. I mean, I have one utility, and that is pretty much my long-range hydro. So if I could pretty much fool this guy to push into my hydro range, and I pop my smoke and my hydro, I could pretty much kill him off. But I noticed that this guy in the LoYang is actually quite skilled, so I wouldn't count on him doing that rookie mistake, pushing into a LoYang with this hydro. And of course I have the I have the advantage that my torps are actually normal torps. So I struck him once before, I think, or was it this time I struck him? I actually landed a torp on him before, and of course he can't land torps on me because he's true Pan-Asian, if you catch my drift. So he has deep water torps that only strike cruisers, battleships and carriers. But at the same time, he doesn't really have to strike me with torpedoes, because as I said before, he out DPMs me. So I'm just trying to lure this lion to follow me, to help me out with this LoYang, because in my mind he's pretty much the biggest threat right now to our team's victory. I don't really have that kind of high expectations against the other guys on their team. But I know that this guy is out to no good. So I make it pretty much my focus this game to try and disrupt his plan pretty much as I can, of course. And just try to spot him as often as possible. Unfortunately, I don't really get any help from my teammates to shoot this guy. So it's always 1 versus 1. And as I said before, I will lose if we do a 1 versus 1. But I'm at least trying to keep him at bay, because I don't want him to attack the lion. I don't want him to go for the B cap or the C cap. And looking at my radio location, I can pretty much tell that he's probably pushing the C cap to even out the ticket bleed. And I know I'm pretty low, and I'm not really sure. I know he's low as well, but I'm not really certain that he will be able to, or I will be able to actually win a 1 versus 1 with him. But I will do my best. I know that we have pretty much won this game either way, so it's not really that big of a risk to take this fight to him. We have 930 points versus 149, and we have 2 caps to their 1, so it's pretty much worth it for me to take this risk to hopefully take this guy out of the equation. So I see him push in pretty fast into the cap, but my hydro has picked him up, so he knows that I'm pretty close. I could probably have played this a bit better, but I thought, what the hell. I could probably have stayed in the channel. It was what I was meaning. And shot over the island where he couldn't spot me, but I could spot him with my hydro. But as you can see, even though I miss a few shots, he will take me out. But Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Yeah, slow torps wins the game. So, all in all, a pretty decent game, I think. One cap capture. What's they say? 6 torpedo hits actually with these slow ass torpedoes. 2 kills, 123,000 damage done. A couple of fires and a couple of cap resets as well. So yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with the outcome. So I'm jumping to the score screens. So pretty decent results. 500,000 credits, 5.9 thousand experience, 2.3 base, and first one on the team, which is pretty nice. I complimented the tier 8 Prince Eugen as well, because it's pretty hard to end up so high up in the score with a tier 8 in a tier 10 game, but yeah, all in all, pretty nice and a fun game, and I will definitely play this ship more in the future. So let's check out the modules, the consumables, and the captain skill for this ship. And looking at the consumables, it's not really something difficult. You run premium as you do on all your premium ships. And in this case, it's repair, smoke, and hydro. So pretty straightforward. Looking at the modules, first slot, main armament. Second slot, very important, that upgraded legendary hydro module that you can purchase for coal in the armory. That is extremely good on LoYang, since the long-range hydro is one of the greatest selling points on this destroyer. So definitely invest in that one. Third slot, the new torpedo module that makes your torpedoes go a bit faster. Doesn't help that much since you're running the longer range slower torps on the ship. It is, I mean, you can run the short range one. I have done that a few games and it's actually quite fun, but you have to play really aggressive, and this ship doesn't really do that well playing too aggressive. So, I mean, they are quite suicide, those torps, but much faster and much shorter range. So if you don't feel that cocky, I would definitely recommend you going for the 9.2 kilometers ones. Third slot, of course, what you called engine boost thing. Makes you accelerate faster in smoke screens. It's what I'm trying to say. You use this on pretty much any destroyer that can sit in smoke screen and shoot your guns. And of course, the last slot, concealment module. So let's look at the captain skills. And here we have a pretty standard captain build for a destroyer. Of course, you always start out with priority targets. I mentioned this many times before. It's the only choice pretty much to start out with. Then you would go with the last stand, which is pretty much the given second choice for a destroyer. I mean, you shouldn't ever take anything else than last stand as your second perk. Next up, I would actually go for Superintendent before Survivability Expert, because you have these great consumables that it's pretty much the only selling point for this ship, which is your great hydro and great American smoke. which in combination makes you one of the most fearsome cap contesters in the game. So Superintendent for an extra smoke and extra long range hydro is quite good. So take Superintendent. Next up, of course, Concealment Expert. You want to get that concealment down, so you only have 300 meters between your ship concealment and the range of your hydro. After that, I would actually go for Survivability Expert first, because every inch of health pool you can gain is so valuable. So I would take that before I go with the Adrenaline Rush, actually. After that, I would actually also prefer to go with radiolocation. And the reason I say this is because just as my Japanese destroyers, you use radiolocation 1 to try and guess where a destroyer sits in a cap, which you contest, so you can launch your torps in the right direction. Secondly, you want to avoid running into too many enemy destroyers, because you're not really built to gunfight other destroyers. And that is a great way to do that. I mean, radiolocation is pretty much a double-edged sword. You can use it aggressively, offensively, to hunt other destroyers if you're a DD hunter, or you can use it in the other way, the defensive way, to avoid those DD hunter killer destroyers. And that is the way I use it on the LoYang, and that is the way I use it on my Torp line Japanese destroyers. So I have pretty much control of where the enemy destroyers are, so I can avoid them, or I can use it to torp them. So go with radiolocation, and then last 2 skills goes into Adrenaline Rush. That is my recommendation. And as I said in my previous video with John Bart, I actually don't play the tech tree French battleships, Alsace or Republique, because I just feel like they are too boring. And that is pretty much the same here. Pan-Asian destroyers have been power crept a lot, even though you saw me struggle against the LoYang in this game. They're actually not really that fun to play. So, I mean, this build, this captain could synergize quite good with LoYang and Shangmu, I think the tier 9 is. But you should probably change the Superintendent skill for the BFT skill on those ships to get even greater DPM with your guns. So I'm not sure. I would probably run another captain on the tech tree destroyers and keep this captain as an exclusive for LoYang. So yeah, that's pretty much my 50 cents. Yeah. I want to thank you guys so much for checking out this video. Please leave a like and a comment below if you have any questions about the game, my decisions in the game, or my builds on the ship. And make sure to subscribe to the channel. Very awesome gameplays in the future, I can guarantee you that. And until next time, I see you guys. Damn, I sound like I'm drunk or something, but I'm only Swedish. Yeah, sorry about that. So, see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.